Once again, I must peel myself away from playing Samurai Remnant to actually talk about, well, Samurai Remnant on FGO. Well, technically, it's not really anything super special. It's kind of what we all expected was going to happen. We were just going to be getting a banner with some of the Samurai Remnant characters. I still think it's kind of a missed opportunity to not drop, like, costumes for, say, like, Masashi and Gil. I think that would have been really sick if they did do something like that. I think if you were one of the people that was expecting, like, a banner to drop, you might have been playing too many different mobile games, right? Like, you play Dokkan or something else of the like, something new drops in their franchise and they drop a banner like the next couple of days. FGO, they like to do a nice little slow burn. They know that they'll be getting their money on that, in the near future, right? I would expect a Samurai Remnant X FGO collaboration event, kind of like Seraph or like the arcade one that we got this year, to happen around Golden Week, right? When you typically do get some of that stuff. So I don't know, early on next year's when we'll probably see a proper event with like 2 banners of free to play and all that good stuff. But this is pretty in line with what we were expecting. So should you summon on this banner is going to be the name of the video. Now, this is pretty much should you just summon for Masashi, because let's get these other guys out of the way. These other dudes, not super great. Like, I really don't have to harp on Arjuna that much. I mean, in recent times, I've said he's not as bad as I thought he was, but that was me having him at like an F, and I brought him up to like a D plus or something, right? That's just me acknowledging that, okay, maybe this guy's not complete gutter garbage. You can actually use him if you do not have anybody better to use, right? Or something along those lines. Or you were like me and you had to use him in the JP Tower event. Having the battery, the almost perma debuff immunity and solid enough damage, I guess, when his mana burst is up is fine, but for any other normal use, if you want to try to use him for buster farming, well, good luck, because bro only has a 25% battery, and he only has a 1-turn buff anyway, so he's not going to be getting that much damage for all the different nodes. He can't do like the double stacking thing that a lot of other buster characters can do by wave through, where you have all of your buffs reset and you can pop them again. You can't do anything crazy like that, so I don't know if you're really going to be considering him. Li Xuan can do a lot of damage, and you'll see a lot of people be like, dude, Li Xuan did this big damage turn where he hit him with a real strong NP, and he did a bunch of crits, and then they never tell you what happens after that, where the guy completely falls off, because then he's like, well, that was my 1 turn of burst damage. Guess I'm going to be chilling here for a little bit. I need you to babysit me for a little bit. Not saying that, that's not useful. There are some fights that, Li Xuan can be good, I suppose, if they're really short and you do need to burst down the boss. Or maybe you put him in the very back line of your party as like an anchor where in case everybody gets beaten up, maybe he can come in and just do a big spurt of damage and hopefully take the enemy down. But is that someone you're going to be summoning for? No, like that's not worth summoning for at all, right? He's not super great. And then Cersei does have some actual uses as basically a Buster 4-star version of Medea. They pretty much have the same battery, and she can do a bit more damage because she has, higher stats, Buster, all that good stuff. So she has some uses, but I found that in a lot of the 90 plus and 90 plus plus content, for those sections where there's like a big assassin slash berserker enemy that I do want to use Medea for her massive battery and just being able to chuck an enemy, usually she can get the job done in a lot of those scenarios, and I've never really found the need to use Cersei. In fact, Medea might be more beneficial to use in some cases because her team cost is lower if you're trying to do like a max CE setup or something along those lines. So I don't know if I'd go on this banner even specifically for Cersei. So realistically, you're going on this banner for Masashi, and honestly, if you wanted to summon for her looking at the rest of this year, she's not a bad option to go for. In fact, Masashi's going to be one of those servants that's going to get better with time because we already know what one of her buffs is going to be in the future, and that's this, where they take the original skill that just pretty much made it more like a burst turn, and they put it all on 3 turns, which is ridiculous. If you don't know why this is so good, I mean, these are nice, right? Making her a little bit tankier for 3 turns, that adds to her survivability, and then she gets a little bit more damage on her normal attacks. Like, that's all fine and dandy, but this right here is redonkulous, because you look at all the stuff that she got up here, it's like, oh, normally 3 hits on an arts card with 0.87% NP gain. Well, that's really good, right? No, now that's a 6-hit arts card with 0.87% NP gain. That's ridiculous. And then she gets that for 3 turns. If you are critting on any of these cards, especially the arts card, it functions as basically a 100% battery, right? And if you want to get real goofy with things and, use Summer BB to lock like a specific Brave chain in place, or you're using Ruler Artoria to like shuffle your cards around for something, and you can consistently get that arts card a couple of times within the 3 turns, like maybe you get it twice in those 3 turns, you basically just had 2 100% batteries, right? She is ridiculous, and they're never going to stop buffing this unit because Masashi is so popular. She's kind of like Gilgamesh, right, where they keep giving them these small little buffs that make them better and better so they can keep up with the meta, because they know that these are like super headlining units, so they're super popular, right? And the rest of her kit's not bad either. I mean, Pierce Invincibility is going to be very nice against your harder bosses, getting around their invul, dodge, all that good stuff, the buster buff, even though it is 1 turn, which is a little unfortunate. I'd like to see them maybe buff this in the future, just slapping like 3 turns on this, maybe making this 3 attacks or something. 3 turns would be really generous if they wanted to do that, but I don't know. People want her to get like a 50% battery. I mean, she already has this, but technically this is for more longer fights. If you give her the 50% battery on this, she's just nuts then, because if we scroll over to her damage, even her baseline damage is insane. She basically just becomes like a Saber Kentucky, right? Just being able to absolutely chuck any Berserker or Lancer enemies, or God forbid there's a Moon Cancer or Alter Ego, she's gonna absolutely obliterate them. Which is why I'm like, okay, look, if they're gonna give her a battery, let's be tame, make it like a 30%, right? That at least restricts it a little bit to her not being super duper insane, because then you at least have to use like a starting charge CE or level up her append skill, or I guess just unlock her append skill. But you got to put a little bit more effort into it. It's not as nuts as giving her a 50% battery, but we'll see what they do in the future. And on the, kind of avenue of damage that we're on over here, even if we just look at where she stands, because I know people would be like, well, she's only number 2, with their base raw damage, but people can get higher within her with, their special damage mods and everything. She's still like right here. She's still really high up here in the list. She's still among the top servants when everybody's in like their best conditions, right? She's still hanging in there. So Masashi definitely does a lot of damage. And the only, I guess, slight against her is that it is kind of a niche. You don't fight Alter Egos or Moon Cancers all that often, but when you do fight these guys, it is really nice to have, right? Because if you don't have, say, a strong ruler to take out your Moon Cancer enemies, or a strong Moon Cancer, not a Moon Cancer, but man, okay, I'm getting my extra class matchup, my type wheel mixed up. You guys don't know what I'm talking about. Whatever beats Alter Egos, because I don't want to cut away to try to go like look it up. But look, we have too many extra classes, and I get them mixed up all the time. I think Alter Egos are super effective against Alter Egos, but I can't remember that's foreigners or them. Too many FGO, it's getting too confusing. But whatever, if you don't have the guys that beat them, right, then you could bring Masashi along, and she fills that role very, very well, because she will just absolutely obliterate these guys. Now, I recently used her to beat the giant, what's her name? King Protea, that's in Lost Belt 7, right? The one that just got the skin, like, at the beginning of the year. I used her for that fight, and she performed rather well. She didn't perform as well as I thought she would, because again, it is still neutral, but the damage mod definitely did help her out in that fight a lot. And granted, that fight can be a little annoying to kind of navigate through, so I think she performed rather well. So just using her in a more recent boss fight that we got for Lost Belt 7, she didn't absolutely crush the fight for me, but she still did rather well. And keep in mind, I don't have like Koyenskaya or anything, or Oberon, so I was having to use kind of like older supports like Merlin, who are still good, but they're not essentially like that great for bursting down the enemy. Merlin likes to have a nice long fight where he gets to use his NP a whole bunch and get like 2 stacks of it going, whereas Koyenskaya wants to kill the enemy right now. Like, she wants to absolutely obliterate them that second, right? So I imagine the fight would have been a lot easier with someone like Koyenskaya. So I can tell you guys, she still holds up. She's still very strong. Now, would I recommend summoning for Masashi? Am I telling you you should definitely go ahead and go snag the servant? Well, if you're going to summon for Masashi, I'm assuming you already did summon for her. She is just that popular, and the hype of Samurai Remnant is definitely going to help push people towards this banner, because she is so sick in that game. Then we can look at some of the other servants that are going to be coming out later on this year, and I would say if you're really stingy with your Saint Courts, or you're more of a free-to-play player, I would probably hold all my Saint Courts for Koyenskaya, who returns for New Year's, the support one, because obviously there's 2 of them that come out. Go for the Koyen Light, right? Go for the Assassin one, the one that's a support. She'll definitely help you out a lot more than, say, someone like Masashi will. And there's also Scotty to consider. Now, I know Quick is kind of like dead, quote unquote, that's the meme, but she will still be good in the upcoming Quick meta using Ruler Scotty. Like, you do want to use her as a plug suit option, kind of like the Quick version of Oberon. How Koya and Skya setups will plug suit in Oberon, they plug suit in Scotty for like that extra 50% battery, the extra quick buff, the defense down. It's still really nice in that meta. Plus, we don't really know if that cast with Scotty will actually be good in some, 9th year FGO Quick meta. Who knows, she might actually turn out to be really vital to it for some reason. Maybe the defense down will be able to stick through all 3 nodes and it'll be super broken. We have no idea. But if you already have them and you're like, okay, can I summon from Masashi then? I mean, yeah, I feel like you're free to go ahead and summon from Masashi. I would kind of maybe tell you to hesitate a little bit because on NA, we do get the Thanksgiving banner and we don't know what we're going to get for that. It's usually a bunch of limited servants that do return, but sometimes it can be very hit or miss as to who's going to be on it. So, kind of use your own judgment for that. But aside from Thanksgiving banner and the 2 supports that are coming back at the end of the year, we do have some strong guys coming out. Like, I think Izumo's pretty solid. I do think Taigong is very good, but, not worth being like, oh, you can't summon for either of them because you got to go for Masashi, right? Like, it's, fine to go for Masashi over them. I think that's perfectly okay. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you summoning for Masashi? And if you do, let me know how your summons go. I might go ahead and do a video covering Masashi because, I don't know if I want to actually talk about Caster Liz. I might put that off for a little bit. I'd rather talk about an actual really good unit in Masashi. Plus, I finally have her on NA, so I can do like a proper review for Masashi over here. I have Oberon, I have all this stuff, so I'm excited to do that. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Leave all those thoughts in the comments down below. Peace.